Now that we've taken a trip around the world, let's check in on the update right here at home in Arizona. A lot is happening right here in our home state of Arizona, folks. So thank you for tuning in here on The Update, where we like to keep you in the know on what's happening right around you. Now, for most student viewers, you might be watching this in an Arizona classroom, maybe a college campus, or perhaps a multi-purpose room. To the rest of you folks, I'm sure you're probably catching us live or on demand on HYFN TV on the Roku, or catch us on your phones at hyfntv.com. No matter the way you consume your news, on The Update right here, it is our mission to break down the news in Arizona in the most relevant and meaningful way for our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, last school year, those here on The Update covered the continued Arizona water crisis, the homelessness crisis, and all of the elected offices that are up for election this year, as the primary was underway. We also brought to our viewers consistent and relevant updates about the border crisis, fentanyl, and economic and energy issues all across Arizona. All of these major issues of importance to Arizonans were top of mind as we ended last school year. Well, class of 22-23, as summer came to a close, the August 2nd primaries came and went, and the voters of the political parties right here in Arizona have picked their prospective candidates. And the November 8th general election is well underway, and we are excited to catch our viewers and our first-time voters up on what's been happening and kick off the news for this new school year. Today, right here on The Update, we're going to catch you up on where the general election races stand right here in Arizona. We're going to tap into our outgoing governor's wall building plan and this state's program at our southern border. And we don't want to forget about one of the most serious Arizona issues. That's water. We're going to dive into exactly where we are on this water crisis as a state, as we have been battling this issue all year. Nothing new for Arizonans right out here in the desert, folks. But first, before we get started, some breaking news. The campaign manager for Katie Hobbs is attempting to explain away why their campaign is refusing to debate their Republican opponent, as last Friday at 5 p.m. was the deadline to commit. Hobbs' manager continues pointing to a raucous debate between the four Republicans vying for their party's nomination in the August 2nd primary for her decision to not participate. Katie Hobbs' campaign sent out a letter to the Citizens Clean Elections Commission, stating, quote, Secretary Hobbs firmly believes that Arizonans deserve every opportunity to evaluate candidates for public office and hear their visions for the future of our state without constant interruptions, pointless distractions, childish name-calling, tired conspiracy theories, and demonstrably false accusations, end quote. Kari Lake, the Republican candidate, had already agreed to the debate and its format, which has been used for years. She also said she was ready to hit the stage with Hobbs at any time, let her pick the moderator, and write all the questions. Kari Lake had some pretty tough words for her opponent. As she got word that Hobbs was refusing to debate, Lake was quoted stating that she would happily follow any set of rules if Hobbs would just show up. On a podcast interview Friday, Lake was quoted saying, "So far, she has not agreed to that. She's a coward." Hobbs' campaign has been talking with the Citizens Clean Elections Commission and Arizona PBS for weeks to try to agree on terms for the scheduled October 12th debate. The debates are televised and streamed live across the state on Arizona PBS and numerous television stations, such as ours, also plan to broadcast. DeMont, Hobbs' campaign manager, proposed separate interviews with Simons. She said the Arizona GOP debate led to weeks of ridicule for Arizona, and that, quote, "As a candidate and as governor, Secretary Hobbs will never participate in something that will make Arizona the butt of late-night TV jokes and national ridicule." Russ Trumbull, Lake's spokesman, said individual interviews are not a debate. His direct quote was, "This is not good for the voters," and that they deserve much more than just the two candidates sitting in separate rooms. We will see in November if this was indeed foolish or brilliant political calculation on Katie Hobbs' part. As far as us here on The Update, well, we have an open invite to both candidates to come speak with our viewers. Come on down, give them your pitch. A lot to catch up on. The Update is yours next generation news leader. And there is a lot of news to go over, folks. More when we come back. Don't go away. Now, before we get to the positions up for election, an update for our viewers on the border wall and at our southern border, Caitlin reports.
Thank you so much. The Border Patrol is seeing a dramatic shift in the type of illegal border crossers who come across the busiest places on the U.S.-Mexico border. According to the Border Patrol, the illegals are now coming from more than 100 countries, and the Mexicans are virtually absent. Mexicans still cross at other, more remote areas where they're more likely to escape detection. But illegal migrants from countries outside of Mexico and Central America's Northern Triangle countries account for 41% of all stops the Border Patrol made from October of last year, 2021, to July of this year. That's up from 12% 3 years ago. A pandemic rule that denies many a chance to seek asylum is driving change. Customs and Border Protection data shows that the number of apprehensions across the southwest border this year are the highest they've been in 2 decades. Data also shows the number of rescues this year is more than double what it was last year. That's true across the entire border with Mexico, except in the Tucson sector. Data shared with Arizona Public Media by the Border Patrol shows 225 rescues sector-wide between last October and July of this year. It's less than half as many as last year. And that is despite a brutal heat wave in June, when 43 sets of human remains were found in the Arizona desert, according to the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office. Stephen Atkinson, Division Chief of Operations for the Tucson sector, attributed for it that because other sectors, agents encountered large groups and families who often needed rescue, while most who needed help here are single migrants on their own. He said the number of 911 calls in Tucson sector are spiking. The sector has logged more than 2,000 calls since last October, including up to 40 a day in a heat wave in June. But he has said not all calls result in a rescue. Only those that require life-saving medical aid are counted. It's not that the numbers are going down, it's just a different type of accounting now. Doug Murray says helicopter pilot and supervisor agent with the Tucson Air Branch of CBP's Air and Marine Operations said, "We're really just seeing a flood in humanity cross the border, and that flood of humanity is completely unprepared." For decades, presidents have promised to hire more Border Patrol agents. Those hiring surges have resulted in Tucson sector having the largest number of agents of any sector in the U.S.-Mexico border. Our Arizona Governor, Doug Ducey, announced that the border wall gaps that the state was filling near Yuma have been completed. Crews have worked since August 12th to fill the nearly 3/4 of a mile gaps, which is roughly about 3,800 feet, with double stacked shipping containers. Ducey announced this action through an executive order, and 5 gaps were filled in the following 11 days. The final section of openings was finished in less than 2 weeks, according to Ducey. These actions come as border states are taking it upon themselves to help to curb the border crisis as a state. The federal government continues to send mixed messages, not only to illegal border crossers, but to our Border Patrol as well. The Border Patrol has publicly begged for more agents, while those in Washington just voted to hire 80,000 new agents. Get this, to the IRS department, not the Border Patrol, who were underpaid and understaffed. This more than doubles the current agents in the IRS department. The Tucson sector is proof positive of what agents can do. It helps make one wonder what the priorities are in Washington, that's for sure. Also, news came late last week that some of these container walls have fallen over, and they've acted as a band-aid to bridging the gaps in former President Trump's border wall. One of the reasons Governor Ducey's dramatic move is because of the deadly spread of fentanyl in our state that is pouring across the southern border. Fentanyl is present and impacting communities across Arizona and has a devastating and long-reaching effect. Fentanyl, the synthetic opioid prescribed to reduce extreme pain, and is 100 times stronger than morphine. All types of opioids are addictive and carry a risk of overdose. However, due to its potency, fentanyl has a higher risk of overdose and death than any other opioid. Illegal fentanyl made in labs is used to produce counterfeit pills that look identical to prescription medication. There is no way of knowing how much fentanyl is in each of these counterfeit pills, making counterfeit pills extremely dangerous, as just a tiny amount of fentanyl can be lethal. In Arizona, 42% of all overdoses involve fentanyl, and over the last 2 years, there has been an increase in 1,610% in counterfeit pill seizures. Out of all the pills tested in the DEA laboratory, 26% contained a lethal dose of fentanyl. This is scary news, folks. Unfortunately, teens have become the target of these pills. Drug trafficking organizations create these pills in shapes, colors, and sizes of those that appeal to teens and social media to distribute them. As a result, teens may think they're getting a legitimate prescription medication, such as Oxycontin, Adderall, or Xanax pills, but instead they're buying counterfeit pills laced with fentanyl and methamphetamine. Fentanyl has now been found in other non-pill forms such as marijuana and other powdered drugs as well. Like many things today, drug dealers are no longer done on the streets and have switched to online platforms. While teens may use all forms of social media to purchase these pills, Snapchat is the platform that gets the most, as it provides disappearing content and does not allow third-party monitoring. For example, drug dealers can post anonymous stories with their menu or receive orders directly on the app, all of which will disappear, making it very hard to track. In January of this year, Snapchat had 108 million users in the US, with 15 to 25-year-olds making up 48% of all users. Teens have different reasons for using prescription pills. They may be using them out of curiosity as a coping mechanism because they believe it'll help with their studies, or may have become dependent on actual prescriptions. However, the fact remains that teens are misusing and becoming addicted to prescription pills. In many cases where a teen overdoses, more than one person is present, as teens may use these pills at parties or gatherings with friends. Teens must know the signs of an overdose and call 911 for help if they see or hear someone who is taking a counterfeit prescription pill. Arizona's Good Samaritan law protects those who call 911 to report an overdose, and they will not be arrested, charged, or prosecuted. As kids head back to school, it's essential that we talk to them about the risks of drugs and why they should never take a pill that has not been prescribed to them by their doctor. It's also just as important that parents develop a plan for their kids' social media use and help them develop healthy coping mechanisms. Here's a sobering statistic. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration in Arizona, the leading cause of death for those ages between 15 and 44 in the United States is drug overdoses. This data is based on the most recent data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC estimates more than 107,000 people died from drug overdose in the U.S. from a 12-month period. These numbers are from February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2022. According to our sources in the DEA, 67% of overdose deaths involve synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, which is the primary driver of overdose poisonings. The latest findings show drug poisonings with fentanyl are claiming lives of even younger Arizonians in high school and junior high. The best way to not be poisoned with these drugs laced with fentanyl is to just say no to drugs altogether. This removes you from any and all risk.
Next up, we're going to fill you in about the devastating drought here in Arizona. Don't go away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arizona Drought Update. I'm Alex, and today we're going to be talking about the devastating drought here in Arizona. Devastating drought is a severe, persistent, and long-lasting drought that has affected over 1 billion people worldwide. It's caused by the extreme heat of the summer months and the abundance of rain. Before we get into November 2022's election contenders, let's jump into one of Arizona's hot political topics, and that's our water shortage. Daniel has the report on that.
Thank you, Caitlin. Since the beginning of 2022, Arizona has been in a Tier 1 water shortage condition, which has required Arizona to leave 512,000 acre-foot of its annual 2.8 million acre-foot allocation in Lake Mead. Should the surface levels at Lake Mead descend to below 1,060 feet by the beginning of 2023, the amount Arizona may have to leave in the reservoir may increase to 592,000 acre-feet. We have now been moved up to a Tier 2 water shortage for Lake Mead, and that will be enacted in January 2023 as one of the river's key reservoirs has had its levels continue to dip dangerously low this year. This is forcing Arizona into conserving water. This really impacts the state's top producers, the farmers. Yes, the agricultural industry is being hit hard as farmers are being forced to fallow their land. Or in other words, for those of us who aren't farmers, not plant some of their fields because of the water shortage. Thus, you guessed it, it leads to a further food shortage. So here's where we currently stand. Arizona already has stored more than 800,000 acre-feet in Lake Mead, which means we have already planned beyond what a Tier 3 will require us to do. So if your event or game or cookout is canceled this year because of some rain, well, we need it, so don't be too upset. This has risen to be one of the top topics right here in Arizona politics. Both sides are viewing this crisis as an opportunity to show their leadership on a big issue. According to the Democrat governor candidate Katie Hobbs' website on the water crisis, she released her newest policy plan this past Tuesday, which she called, and I quote, a resilient Arizona. Her plan is to provide solutions for the rapidly growing water crisis, to preserve our natural resources, and to address climate change by building a 21st century clean energy economy that puts Arizona on a path to short and long-term prosperity. Her plan outlines the actions she will take as governor and her priorities to tackle the compounding challenges our state faces. According to her campaign website, Hobbs states that as the water crisis continues to worsen with major water cutbacks, the threat of losing reliable hydropower generation looms large, with wildfires, extreme heat, and drought plaguing Arizonans across the state, all of which are exacerbated by the worsening impacts of climate change on our way of life. Hobbs is also quoted stating that Arizona's next governor must address a generational challenge, ever-disruptive water shortages that threaten access to water and the viability of our state's water supply. She states, these problems are not new, but what's been missing is leadership. As governor, I will deliver results that expand economic opportunities and improve the well-being of Arizonans through innovative thinking, common sense leadership, and cooperation among tribes, farms, cities, and industries. Now here are the bullet points to her resilient Arizona plan that we pulled off her campaign website. Number 1, establish the Water and Energy Innovation Initiative, tasked with securing our water supply and advancing a clean energy economy in partnership with state agencies, businesses, underserved communities, and tribal communities. Number 2, secure Arizona's water supply by better conserving and managing our water, investing in and upgrading our infrastructure, and providing the leadership needed to bring Arizonans together so that every stakeholder has a seat at the table. Number 3, protect Arizona's precious natural resources like our forests, parks, and bodies of water from the devastating effects of climate change and wildfires. And last but not least, invest in a 21st century clean energy economy that lowers costs for Arizonans, diversifies our energy infrastructure, and addresses the
states that, quote, "Water is perhaps the single most critical issue facing Arizona today, as too many people now rely on a single watershed that is unable to support them, and our population is continuing to grow." She also stated that ranchers and farmers are already suffering from the effects, seeing significant cuts in their water allocations from the Colorado River and watching their groundwater dry up. Lake posted on her website that the next governor of Arizona must be a leader on this issue, not only for Arizona, but for the future of the entire Southwest and northern Mexico. Lake states that Arizona must seek and immediately implement both long and short-term solutions to address the rapidly growing crisis that threatens the future viability of our agriculture heritage, our manufacturing growth, and our population. Lake's website further explains that after meeting with experts across Arizona on this issue, as Governor Kari Lake will be committed to the governor who addresses the Arizona future water needs by stepping up the lead on a national regional effort to ensure Arizona and the entire Southwest have the water they need to continue to grow into the future. Kari Lake's plan is stated on her website, and it reads, "Short-term, increasing our storage capacity on the Salto Verde River system by improving and expanding our dams and reservoirs, capturing storm runoffs, lining and covering our canals, and properly managing the forest and wildlife areas surrounding these critical rivers to prevent forest fires, which cause significant damage to the river ecosystem." She also states that we also have to support our responsible transfer of water rights, especially working with the various tribal nations throughout Arizona. And lastly, she states that we need to expand efficient capture and purification. Lake's website states that we do a lot of this stuff well already, and it's on a way where both Phoenix and Tucson have been real leaders. But long term, we need to see more water. She points out many options, even referring to some of the solutions that Israelis are currently using.
On the way, folks. Stick around. Next, we cover the federal government. On Tuesday, announced new water cuts for Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico in response to what the Biden administration has called a climate change-induced drought that is depleting the Colorado River and its reservoirs. Now here's why it matters, folks. It's the first time in history that the government has triggered a Tier 2 water shortage for Lake Mead. And that's one of the river's key reservoirs as its levels dip dangerously low. The Tier 2 designation will begin in January and means that Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico will have to reduce their use of water from the Colorado River. Arizona will face the largest cut of 582,000 acre-feet of water, which is approximately 21% of its annual apportionment. Nevada will face a reduction of 25,000 acre-feet of water, which is about 8% of its annual apportionment. Mexico will face a cut of 104,000 acre-feet, or around 7% of its annual allotment from the river. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation said Tuesday it will not act upon its June demand that states who rely on the Colorado River must agree to plan to cut up to 25% of their water usage. Authorities in California, Arizona, and Nevada in the lower basin, and Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah in the upper basin have had ongoing debates on how to make cuts. They had until August 15th to come to an agreement. Chief Camille Touton said in a statement, the Bureau is starting the process to come up with a plan for them, though she did not announce new deadlines for the states. Here's what the federal government is saying. Every sector in every state has a responsibility to ensure that water is used with maximum efficiency. The Department of Interior's Assistant Secretary for Water and Science, Tanya Trujillo, stated. She also added, in order to avoid a catastrophic collapse of the Colorado River system and a future of uncertainty and conflict, water use in the basin must be reduced. Here's the big picture, folks. Much of the American Southwest has been in the grip of a decades-long mega drought, chronic overuse of the Colorado River, and that hasn't helped matters either. And Lake Mead and Lake Powell are now at historic lows. More than 40 million people across 7 states and at least 22 tribal nations rely on the river for drinking water. And it's crucial for Southwest's agricultural and outdoor recreation industries. Continued depletion of the river's flow and its reservoirs, the two largest man-made reservoirs in the United States, could further disrupt water delivery and hydropower production for Arizona, Nevada, and parts of California within the lower Colorado River Basin. The Mexican states of Baja California and Sonora also rely on the Colorado River for drinking water and agricultural irrigation. On average, each Arizona resident uses, get this, about 146 gallons of water per day. Wow. About 20% of the state's water supply is for municipal use, and most of this is residential. Up to 70% of that water is used outdoors for watering plants, swimming pools, washing cars, etc. Now, especially during the summer months, with the remainder used indoors for bathing, cooking, cleaning, etc., residents that incorporate water efficiency into everyday life help us to preserve water for future generations. Yeah, you know, it's funny, around our house, something that we do to save water is that while we're brushing our teeth, you know, we've all heard this as little kids, you know, when I brush my teeth, I don't let the water run. Something small, but you know, it makes a difference. Now folks, as the elections across the state is heating up, coming up next, we will dive into Arizona's top competitive political races. Don't go away.
Okay, students, last school year, we were the first, and sometimes HYFN TV was the only network to cover all of the primary candidates once they qualified to be on the ballot. And that was done here on the update. That's why we are Arizona's 2022 election leader. Now this past summer, as the primary season waged on, we here on the update offered each and every candidate an opportunity to come speak directly and unedited to our viewers. The update is aired nationally and is currently in high schools and colleges across Arizona. The update can often reach hundreds of thousands of daily viewers and receive millions of viewership impressions daily throughout the school year. We encourage all candidates and their campaigns to reach out to the update through our website, hyfntv.com, and click the Contact Us tab to get on our show and make your pitch to the voters. According to an HYFN TV media consumer poll, 30% of the HYFN TV viewership identify as first-time voters. We want to thank the candidates that came on air with us to speak with our viewers over the summer before the primary vote was cast. We truly appreciate your time with our audience. For those back in school and just getting back in tune from summer break, as I'm sure many of us are, let's update you all to where we currently stand in this very big election year in Arizona. Caitlin has the candidates for Arizona's top offices ready for you.
Thank you, Daniel. And summer break was too short for sure. Let's jump right in. All the major offices are up for re-election or election this year. Did you know that Arizona's gubernatorial election is always on the off presidential years, making the turnout the biggest factor in the election outcome? Well, now you know. So go out and vote. We here on the update will do our best to let you know who and what you are voting for. This year, on November 8th, Arizonians will go to the election booth and pick up their next governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Treasurer, Corporation, Commissioners, U.S. Representatives, and one Senate seat is up for grabs as well. Also, this election year includes many, many state and city board races that are extremely important to know about. During the height of COVID pandemic, parents and students were made aware in practice that who they elect as their leaders in every level of government matters, and participation in the voting process is a must. Today we want to highlight Arizona governor's general election race. There was a pretty competitive race for governor of Arizona August primary as former Fox 10 Phoenix news anchor, on-air personality Kari Lake handily won the Republican primary, putting her on the top of Arizona Republicans' ticket as the party governor candidate. Current Secretary of State Katie Hobbs won the Arizona Democrat nomination for governor with a lopsided outcome with a convincing win in a two-person primary. The general election in Arizona to determine this race over gubernatorial race is set for November 8th of 2022. The current Arizona governor is Doug Ducey, and he is not able to run re-election due to term limits. Let's take a deeper look at these candidates and learn who they are and where they came from. You know, let's look at their resumes as they're asking us as voters to hire them to represent and work on our behalf as this great county is built on the idea of for the people, by the people, with the best term limit being the voting box. First up is Democrat Katie Hobbs. Hobbs is a former social worker. She is currently the Arizona Secretary of State, a position to which she was first elected in 2019. Previously, Hobbs served in the Arizona State Senate from 2013 to 2019. She also served in the Arizona House of Representatives from 2011 to 2013. When looking into her platform, Hobbs has said that she would veto any further restrictions on access to reproductive health care, whether that's family planning, birth control, or further abortion restrictions. Hobbs has also campaigned on border security, saying in a quote that she will work in coordination with those border communities, especially law enforcement, about the resources, support we can provide from the state to make sure that they have the tools they need to keep their communities safe. Hobbs' campaign website includes increasing technology and funding for sheriff laws enforcement border communities. Hobbs has also said that she is done kicking the can down the road of things like water and really truly investing in public education. Next up is her Republican competitor, Kari Lake. Lake, a former news anchor on Fox 10 News in Phoenix, said she is running on a platform of common sense conservatism dedicated to individual liberties, low taxes, limited regulation, and protecting Arizona's great Western heritage. Lake has campaigned on the border security, addressing homelessness, banning critical race theory, and school choice. And on protecting the border, Lake has said, "After I take my hand off the Bible, we are going to issue a declaration of invasion. We are going to finish President Trump's wall, and we are going to send our armed National Guard to border and stop people from coming across." Former President Trump endorsed Lake in September of 2021. Now, you'll most likely hear these two candidates as they are the mainstream candidates with the two largest parties following them. But in Arizona, our largest voting bloc, registered voters, is identified as independents. And because of that, every election in the Libertarian Party and the Green Party offer up candidates for governor, and this year is no exception. Barry J. Hess, Libertarian, and William Pounds, an independent Green Party candidate, are also running in this Arizona gubernatorial election. Hess advanced as a right-informed in the Libertarian Party primary on August 2nd, 2022. Hess was a Libertarian write-in candidate who sought election to the U.S. Senate in Arizona. Losing that race in 2018, Hess was also a Libertarian candidate for the governor of Arizona in 2014 elections, losing as he previously in 2002, 2006, and 2010. Hess was also a candidate for U.S. President in 2008 and U.S. Senate in 2000. Hess earned his BA in English from Fordham University. He also attended Seton Hall Law School, Franklin Pierce Law Center, and University of New Hampshire, Plymouth. Hess serves as director of Hess Foundation. Then there's William Pounds, representing the Independent Green Party. He's running for election as governor of Arizona. He declared his candidacy as a write-in for general election scheduled November 8, 2022. There is not much history of William in the public domain other than posted online. A Tempe, Arizona native, he's earned his degree from Intellect School from 2014 and posts publicly that he is the former co-chair of Jess Ventura's 2020 Presidential Exploratory Committee and former campaign director of Cynthia McKinley's vice president campaign.
There you have it, folks. The 4 candidates for Arizona governor. Next time on The Update, we will cover the general election candidates for Secretary of State, which is a super important job as the second in line of command in the state.